Welcome everyone to another video. My name is Haggart, aka Hags, and today I'm going to break down my 7 property purchases I have made within 4.5, rough, give or take 4.5 years or so. We'll start off straight away with my first ever property. This came around right at the end of COVID. I had to go and view about 5 to 10 plus properties just to really understand firstly what my strategy was and what was the right property in the right area. So really it started off with just seeing what budget I had and just finding properties within certain areas within that. And I came across this one property after viewing 5 properties, having a long day. It was a 2-bedroom terrace property right by the coast, 2 reception rooms following the kitchen, and at the back of the property was the bathroom. Unusual layout, I know, but this is how they were down by the coast, which was an auction property. If you don't know already, with auction properties, there's a 10% guide price, which means they list the property for fairly lower than what it's actually should be selling for, and 10% above that is roughly what the seller would accept. I went to view this property. All it needed was cosmetic work at the time, very basic work if anything, flooring, repaint the walls, done. The agent told me if you offer the asking price, you'll get it for that price, which you'd think, yeah, you would if it's a normal market sale, but this was significantly lower than I thought it would go for. So I thought, let's offer it and see what happens. They come back to me and say, it's all yours. So I thought instantly, I'm going for this. I can either put this back on the market and make a very healthy amount of money, or I might just keep it and see what happens. So in the end, I kept the property for about 4.5 years, give or take. Only recently sold it actually, and got the rental money, and now reap the rewards of the appreciation of the property. I couldn't have got any better luck if I tried, because I still look in that area till this day and I struggle to find anything. Moving swiftly on to the second property. I took my location to a whole nother spot, which was over 4 hours away from my first property. I found this doer-upper, again, auction property. I went to view it, as well as many others, by the way. I'm not mentioning the hundreds of other properties I went to see at the same time. This is not just one of those, you go view one, that's the one. I went to view this one auction property. Great property, needed full renovation throughout. This property was a 3-bedroom end of terrace. It had 1 reception room, kitchen, diner, and split between that is the bathroom. Upstairs you have the 3 bedrooms, but this needed absolutely everything to it. So I knew this property was going to be a proper flip project. And also I wanted to create a relationship with this estate agent. I will give you the keys back to sell this on for me within 2 or so months. 2 months came by, dropped the key off to them, and before I knew it, 6 or 7 offers on this property, believe it or not. And I'm going through the list thinking, we've only had it on for just a week and a half. How's this happened? It did get downvalued in the end slightly, just because of how much people are offering was ridiculous, and it was almost inevitable. Swiftly moving on to the third. This, once again, was an auction property, but this needed a bit more configuration. I learned from the one previously that there's a lot of work that needs going into this. Not only that, I found the right builder, thankfully, so I'm going to use him again, and I know how auction works. This property was a 2-bedroom semi-detached property with a living space connected to the diner, a separate kitchen, and through the double doors was the conservatory. What a property this was. Upstairs you had 2 bedrooms and the bathroom, but I thought in my head, this master bedroom is awfully large. It had 3 windows completely separated from each other. I can work some magic here. Went to the auctioneer and I said, what does it take for me to get this before the auction? Once again, trying the same tactic. Then the 10% guide price is there for a reason. I offered slightly below that. Before you knew it, it was mine. Renovated this property within 2 or so months. Created a 3rd bedroom upstairs. Full refurb throughout. Listed it, sold once again. The exact same thing happened as the previous property. The market once again was booming. So finding properties was impossible, but selling them was absolutely not. But once you found one, it was an absolute gem. So now I've got the ball rolling here. We're moving on to my 4th property. This is flying by now. It was a bungalow in, again, another area. Was this an auction property? Not this time. This was a standard sale, but this needed absolutely everything done to it once again. But not only that, the full outside render, windows, full inside, driveway, garden, literally you may as well knock the whole property down and redone the whole lot again. But this one had huge potential. People thought that this property had structural issues. I knew straight away there was nothing wrong with the property. I had my builder around as well. We realised they're just standard cracks, nothing to do with the structure of the property. What happened was I went to the estate agent, offered them a relatively good figure, which would make my numbers work, gave the keys to my builder, and he got on with it once again. No configuration on this one. This was just a 2-bedroom with a 1 sitting area and a kitchen with the bathroom. All on 1 floor, of course it's a bungalow, but it could be a dormer one. I left it as it is. I could have done some extensions to it, but again, I wasn't too familiar with extensions. I was just happy to make my numbers back on the refurb itself. We rendered the front of the property, well, the whole property, new windows throughout. I cut the garden down myself, made it look presentable, and this garden was not for the weak either. This one just kept going back, and what a plot it was. Almost too big for my liking. The driveway I'd done myself, a pebble drive, and there we have it. Went back to the same estate agent. The issue was this time, it felt like they gave me a false figure. So reduced the price slightly, still couldn't sell it. I found another estate agent. They couldn't quite sell it for me either. So you're thinking, what's going on here? Why is this not selling? Not only did the interest rate hit 6%, which was an absolute killer in itself. Second of all, I felt like I was going to the corporate estate agents and not the local ones who know the area like the back of their hand. So the third and last estate agent was a local estate agent. Before you knew it, listed it for the same amount as the other two, had it sold before you knew it. That 6% interest rate absolutely killed me. So after that property is now my 5th property. This property was now given to me by the estate agent that gave me the 2nd property, which I gave back to them to sell on for me. So funny how this works. Within a couple of years, they don't forget, and neither do I, with constantly calling them to try and get a deal done. Till this day, I'm trying to make more deals done with them because we make each other's life easier and it's a win-win. This property, once again, was a 2-bedroom, end of terrace, great location. It fell through previously. They came to me and said, do you want it? I offered about £20,000 below the asking price. Managed to get it before I knew it. It was in awful condition, needed absolutely everything done to it. And I did a bit of configuration once again, moved the bathroom downstairs, turned it to a 3-bedroom, renovated the whole lot once again. What did I do? I gave the keys back to the estate agent. And I said, sell this for me. Before I knew it, this property also sold. So at this point, I am flying. No complaints throughout any of this, but at the same time, if I told you the ins and outs, how stressful some of this can be, paperwork you need to get, amounts you have to spend, this is not for the weak. So now moving on to my most recent project number 6, which I just completed. A full doer-upper once again, bought by a standard sale. It was a 2-bedroom, semi-detached property. It just needed mainly cosmetic work and to turn that 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom, which only took about a month and a half, 2 months to do. I've got a full series on it like I do with all my other ones, so go check that one out. But we got this one done in amazing time. With the kitchen, for example, we just changed a couple of doors. The bathroom, jazzed it up nicely. Some of the walls we just painted, some of them we plastered. Gave the keys back to the estate agent, and before you knew it, once again, the property sold. For my 7th property, which will be my biggest property investment I've ever done. I'm not going to give too much away, but it's a 4-bedroom house. That's the best I'm going to give you. Not only that, actually, I'll give you one more hint. It needs absolutely everything done to it once again. So, you will see this in an upcoming video. And that is my 7 properties within 4.5 years of investing in property. I was very lucky to get in it at a perfect time. And since then, I'm trying to replicate the same thing over and over again. And that's really how business works. But sometimes a little tweak here and there, such as turning a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom, potential extensions, and so on. It's all about who you know, not just what you know. But I've been Hagop, aka Hags. Don't forget the name. I'll catch you in my next video.